topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Mindset Marketing Mastery, the show that brings you the top speakers in the marketing and video industry. With your host, Marie Mason.
Oh, I just love that music. It just revs me up every single day.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Hello.
How are you, honey? How's everybody doing this week? Oh my gosh, can you believe it's July 1st already in 2021? Where's
Look,
half the
last
year
week
gone?
it just ran away. Last
Oh, it
6
did.
months, they ran away.
They did. Don't blink. It might be like that fast before the next 6 months goes. But it happens whenever we have a fast year like that. That's what usually happens. It drives me crazy. But
Mary,
welcome.
I'm going next week to buy the Christmas presents, and that's it. Because if the 6 months, next 6 months are going to run like the previous ones, I need to get it done now.
Oh, that's a great thing. Oh, yeah. And we haven't even done the opening line for our show yet, and we're already talking about Christmas presents. But yeah, I get that. I actually start through whenever I see a sale and I have the extra money, I set aside a little bit in my budget each time, and I get one little item here and there. So by the time Christmas rolls around, most of my gifts are done, and then all I have to do is like little extras and, get the wrapping, and I usually squirrel everything away. So I don't know. That has nothing to do with today's show, but anyway, except that this year's going by fast. So, I'm already planning Christmas too, so don't feel like you're the only one. But welcome back to the Marketing Mindset Mastery radio show with your host, Marie Mason, and our lovely and talented co-host, Plinny Phoenix.
Hello. This week we have a great show lineup. What did you do? Like, you're always inviting great guests. So everybody out there don't want to miss it, right?
I know. No one wants to miss it. And the great thing about being in person and live is that they get to actually ask questions while the guests are here, and they'll answer them. And we'll be happy to funnel the guests the questions. So yeah, totally do it live because it is so worth it. I actually got to talk to some of my friends up in the DC area some people that I grew up with, and they're like brothers to me, really, and family. They're like extended family. And so I'm really hoping they're getting to listen because they were like so excited when I said, I have a radio TV show, and they're like, oh my gosh, we're going to listen. So that's cool. So I hope say hi to all my DC, Virginia, Maryland folks and all across the world. I hope you guys are doing well during this July season. And oh my gosh, do we have some fun for you, right, Plinny?
Absolutely.
We got
that's what we do here.
Yeah, we have fun. We have fun. If you can't tell by now, we have fun. So really, really quick, I have something else before we bring up our guest. Remember last week we had Hannah on the show. Oh, can you remember how to pronounce her name? I'm going to butcher if I try. Remember Hannah's
my God.
It's something with a K.
Yeah.
Capelucci, or I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering it. So if I am, I apologize.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We tried to say it, and anyway, we became so much connected in that call. She's fantastic. So please go back and watch the episode on our YouTube channel, or go on Spotify, or everywhere you listen to your podcast.
Exactly.
And listen to the episode, because Hannah just gave us practical tips. So every entrepreneur out there that is listening, please go to last episode with Hannah, because she was amazing, and she gave us literally step-by-step tips that you can actually improve. You can actually bring into your work so that you can improve it.
Yeah, you can improve your message, which is so important.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to have a great message, or else, if you don't, you lose people in the process, whether people realize that or not. But I am going to tell you something. She interviewed me on her podcast this week, which was super exciting. So I will be sharing that in the YouTube channel as well later on. So and on
Oh,
Facebook.
that's
So
great.
yeah, so please go and check it out. I actually got the chance to be in her hot seat this week, and it was so much fun. She's a really good host as well. So I
Oh,
wanted to,
she is.
that's the only reason why I
Yeah.
brought that up was because, oh my gosh, not only did she do a good talk on our show, I turned around and was able to be a blessing to her show. So if you guys want to be a guest on our show, we're always looking for guests, and I'll be happy to bless your audience as well. So, and Pliny, if you're open to doing some podcasts, let us know. We'll be happy to line you up. But long story
Yeah.
short, we need to speed this up. Oh my gosh, it's already 5 after. We got to bring up our guests pretty soon. But oh my gosh, here's a really, really good something cool. Do you want to know know the surprises?
No.
Oh,
No,
you
you
don't?
have to tell me. You can't leave me like that. I should know already, but people, she didn't tell me because she what it was a surprise for me as well, like for you. So listen up, stay
Yeah.
there. Mary, share it now.
We're having some new tips each week. We're going to do something, change things out this month. I want to try something different for the next 3 months. So, starting this week, we're going to be sharing little marketing mastery tips. And I'm not sure we're going to change the name probably about what the title of the tip is.
Oh,
I haven't
what
nailed
about
it
if
yet.
we ask actually the audience to suggest a
Yeah,
name for the tips?
great
Maybe
idea.
a good idea.
We're going to do a poll on Facebook, and you guys are
Yeah.
and on LinkedIn, and you guys are going to get to vote for the name of our little podcast tip of the week. I don't know what else to call it because it's just a tip of the week. So we're not going to get too detailed into that piece, but you guys are going to get to pick the name. How's that for fun? That's a good idea, Plan. I never
I love
thought about
it.
that. Yeah, I love it. So I don't have to be the only creative one here, and Tiny either. So we can, or Revel or anybody else. We can have other people join in. But each week, we're going to bring you a great quick marketing tip or webinar, podcast, or business owner mindset tip that you can apply in your business now and see great results. So, the quick question for you, Pliny, and then everyone here as well. Do you ever wonder what is the fastest way to get more people to register on your webinar or podcast or a lead offer? Do you have any idea what that is, Pliny?
Well, yeah, I know some things, but Mary, that's your space of expertise. So I, I
Aw,
think I think you can share an answer here.
okay,
Go
that sounds
with the
good.
tip.
All
Go
right,
with the
so the
tip.
tip is you need to start leveraging your current list of connections on all your platforms. And here's the tip of the week: connect with the people you already know and ask them to promote your webinar or podcast or
Hmm.
lead offer. That's the easiest thing to do. And then make sure you filter them first and see if they have a good target market and or a bigger list than yours because the goal is you want more eyeballs, right? And then they might make sure their list is also vetted, meaning that they've had people that are already interacting with them. And then that is the quickest way to get more people to register your webinars, watch your podcasts, and click on your offers. So that's
Oh,
my
that's great.
marketing tip. Simple, easy, actionable, and let's roll. So in the meantime, would you like to introduce this week's guest? I'm gonna give you this.
Absolutely.
Okay,
So
take it
this
away.
week's guest is an entrepreneur, adoption advocate. Oh my gosh, we have to talk about a lot of things here. All the way from Tampa, Florida, and is going to bring a different perspective on marketing, which is you're talking about your brand story. And our guest this week is Jason Centeno. So, Jason, how you doing? How you
Come
there?
on down. So,
Hey,
hey,
so,
Jason.
so I want to throw my hat in the ring. Tip top tips. Use that one.
Oh, that's a good one
Tip
too.
top tips. Oh my
Love it.
God.
Make sure we type that down or I'll forget that one.
That's absolutely one of.
Grabbing the Earl now. Oh no, I'm kidding. Good, but
No,
I
that's
love
actually
it.
really good. No, we're going to put
I
that
love
down
it.
in the
I
bucket. So.
proposed tech tip.
But yeah,
Tech tip.
top tech tips. Now you get that, and people are gonna have trouble like explaining it, but you can laugh over them trying to pronounce that whole thing.
well, I'm already laughing because I already have marketing mindset mastery with Marie Mason, and that's already a tongue twister. It's only taken me this long to get it right. So yeah,
You have to shorten up like a MMM radio show.
Well, that just sounds like M&M candy. But anyway, we're gonna roll out. We're gonna roll out the door with some questions for Jason. So, Jason, I have a quick starter question for you. What made you choose your career path? If you can't tell, we'd love to have fun on the show. So, go for it.
I guess it chose me. It was kind of accidental. So to be, the first part of my life, most of it was being a firefighter. It was accidental. I don't want to say accidental. I actually applied for it, but I was in the, I guess you could, independent filmmaker. So my dreams were, hey, I'm going to make movies and, be famous and all this stuff. Come to find out, I really wasn't that good. I mean, you have to come, you have that come to Jesus moment when you have 30, 40 grand in bills and, products didn't really sell like you thought they were going to do. So I was a firefighter by day and then, independent filmmaker by night. And then a friend of mine, I met him, basically he was a real estate entrepreneur and he never worked a 9-to-5 job in his life. So no, I thought that was the path I wanted to follow. And so that's the path I followed for over 20 years, being a real estate investor. So I was a firefighter and then I was, we have a lot of time off because we work in chunks of time, days and nights. So it was kind of like, that was my full-time gig, being a real estate investor. And, that's kind of how I got into marketing and some of the other things I got into over time. And then currently being in Florida, COVID changed everything. Yeah, I was one thing and then everything changed and I was in a position where I could just say, you know what, I'm going to just retire and move my whole family to Florida because I don't like what's going on here. Not everybody has that option, obviously, but I did because of, my choices before that. So, I kind of uprooted myself, retired, and moved to Florida and kind of had to recreate myself from there because I didn't want to spend my next 20 years doing what I did my last 20 years. So I just like I said, I recreated myself.
I reinvented myself too at 50, so don't feel bad. I just didn't relocate. So I stayed.
Oh, you got to burn that bridge. Just everything goes.
No, I get that. Plinny had to move from but you were living in Ireland during COVID and had finally came back.
For 1 year, for all year actually. And now I just got the chance to jump on a flight finally. And I said, okay, now I will stay a little bit here because you never know. You can't make plans anymore. As an entrepreneur, it's really hard not making plans. Right. But I think we arrive at a point when we need to let it go and actually go with the flow. It's like being, I don't know, I like the metaphor of being like a surfer. Mm-hmm. You jump on the wave and you stay there until you can. And then when it's that finished, you just go back and you search for a new one.
Yeah. It's just called being flexible.
Now, right?
Yeah. You have to go with the flow and be flexible these days. I totally get that. So I know we got a lot to discuss, so let's just dive right on into the topic question. So, and that is, how did you start your entrepreneurial journey? Was it when you moved to Florida or was it beforehand?
Like I said, kind of beforehand, it was accidental, meaning I always had that bone in my body. How do you make money? I used to pick up books on how to publish or, learn back in the days, it was different things. It was mail order courses and things like that. Now everything's online and in videos, but I would pick up these things and try to figure out how are these guys really making this money? And, it was all kinds of stuff posting in newspapers and publishing, self-publishing, manuals and all kinds of things, which have graduated to, Teachable and, e-courses, e-books and with some of the online courses, that everybody puts their courses on. So that kind of stuff, I kind of got addicted to it early. And then over the years, I just kept absorbing and learning things until finally something started to stick. So as a firefighter, I had to pay for all, like I said, my independent filmmaker bills. And I asked a friend of mine, teach me real estate investing. So I bought my first wholesale deal from him. He overcharged me, that bastard, but that's okay because I learned it from there. Those first two houses taught me pretty much 90% of what every real estate investor will go through in their life, from, over improving and bad tenants and mistakes and squatters and, just repairs and appraisals and short sales. And like, I went through everything with those 2 houses. I should probably just write a book about those first 2 houses. But over time, I started flipping houses. Then I became a wholesaler, and I was doing that as a firefighter. So it was kind of 2 things. And then started taking the money from that. Everybody and their mom, I should say, became a wholesaler. So I kind of graduated into the short-term rental space, kind of changed up my my business model a little bit, did that for a while. And then when COVID hit, I'm still in that world, but I kind of shifted again because I found I'm more passionate about creating tech and ideas than I am about dealing with, let's just say, less than desirable customers. So
Gotcha.
That's where I'm at now. But I mean, I got a lot of experience, a lot of different things. I've been successful in quite a few of them. And,
Right.
and the passion waxes and wanes depending on what I'm doing. So I guess
Right.
That's great. And also, what I like is that you changed so many times. It's like you had 1,000 lives already. But also, let's say that you have a big family too, with 6 kids, and you're an entrepreneur now. And a lot of entrepreneurs think that they don't have enough time. So here we have a person that was doing 2 jobs and with a big family and everything. So can you just quickly tell us how did you manage everything with the 2 jobs and the family?
Okay, so the importance of, everybody says this, and I can point to it, the 4-hour work week, just the idea of being able to leverage other people's time. It clicked the button in my head. Hey, if I'm getting paid $25 an hour to do something, I can always pay someone else $5, $10 an hour to do something else for me.
Yeah.
Because then I can, even though it's not all the money, I can free my mind up to do my job, and then those people could be doing the other stuff. So I had virtual assistants doing a lot of my stuff for me over the years, depending on what I needed, and then just leveraging other people and leveraging technology. It's very I was always very collaborative, and there's a lot of people out there that are like very like specific, like I need to make all the money. I was more like, no, we can chop this up. Like literally, I was the worst real estate agent because I would just give my list. I would just say, here's half my commission, just do the paperwork. So I could do that. So I wasn't the greatest, but the point is, I just thought like my time was more valuable. I know I could do bigger and better things with my time. I could make $500 an hour doing this, $10,000 an hour doing that. So why should I be doing $5 to $15 an hour work? So I got that through my mind and really just focused on that. So, yeah.
You got a mindset focus on your business, which is awesome. You knew how to leverage your time so that you wouldn't have to do all the work. Now that's awesome.
Yeah, because you were actually scaling before, like even getting all done. Because a lot of people said, "Oh, you have to have it all done, and you have it like to start your own job and leave the other one, and then you can scale." You were already doing.
Yeah, and that's one of those things I tell people, like, if you actually, so not everybody as an entrepreneur wants to leave their job. Like, I didn't want to leave. I didn't have to leave my job. Like, they always say, well, when are you going to leave your 9 to 5? And it was always kind of like these people would give me a side eye. Oh, you're doing all that. Well, how come you're still working in the fire department? What if I liked my job? What if I didn't leave? What if I had all these benefits? What if I have I'm able to produce a salary which makes me very lendable to banks? What if my whole business goes to hell and I don't have any other source of income like other people? And then I have to do ethically gray things. I never had to do that because I always had this other thing. Some people would say that's a little bit chicken. You're not like, you weren't in it to win it, or, burn the bridges, like I kind of just said. But I always felt like that kept me from doing bad things. And yes, it was more of a hobby than it was a business. If you would ask people like, oh, that's just kind of a hobby. Well, I made hundreds of thousands of dollars with my hobby. Maybe did you do the same thing? Okay, if not, then I guess don't knock what I do. That's kind of how I feel. So
I think that's the secret, loving what you're doing. Is that the way, like you started? Because you help DadPreneurs become Tech Moguls, helping them develop their big idea. Is that how all it started?
You talking about like kind of the shift that I kind of mentioned, that the new career path? Yeah. So when I moved to Florida, I kind of was like, well, am I going to do the same thing over? Am I going to just go get more Airbnbs? Am I going to like kind of repeat the same pattern? And I was just like, I don't really need to. So what am I going to do? And people were always asking me like, how do you do so much? And I just kind of explained it to you. But like, again, that's not a book. That's not an instruction manual. It's just me saying it. And like, how can you attach to that? So from that, I kind of just started this show called the Dad Next Door show, which is basically I'll just interview other dad entrepreneurs about business and life and how they mix the two together, because there's people out there with more kids than me doing more than me, and there's people with one kid or two kids that can't do as much as me. So this is like a whole kind of ongoing dialogue of who can do what. And then that show has just been fun for me because it just helps me connect to other people doing stuff. And also I'll introduce people to other people. But from that, one of the dads, I met him on Clubhouse, and he's a tech, he owns a tech company, and he was on a mission to, he said his mission was he wants to create 1,000 tech companies by 2031, right? 10 years from now. And I was like, okay. I said, all right, so how about this? I shared with him an idea that I got from like doing Airbnbs, and after I kind of really dug deep into it, there was so much opportunity there that was bigger than that market. But the simplicity of it, he was like, wow, we need to partner on that. So I was like, I started a tech company with him, and then I also became one of his idea squad. So now I help other people through that same process that I'm going through, to raising capital, putting something together, a minimum viable product, all these other things. So I was able to take all these pieces of these different worlds I just described, this mishmash of the life that people are like, well, why don't you settle on one thing? I get bored, but I like doing a lot of different things. So I'm able to take all these different seemingly random things I've done in my life and pour them all into this tech company, and also help others as they build theirs to see blind spots where there's income opportunities that they didn't even think about, and help them develop that into something. So it's kind of my favorite thing. And it was an accidental thing that happened from creating this Dad Next Door show, which was kind of like what am I going to do with myself for a while till I pick something. I did that, and then it turned into this, and now I'm loving that. So those are kind of a business mastermind and helping the tech entrepreneurs. That's kind of like my three, areas of, concentration now. And my life is fun. I have enough time to breathe, which before, when you live in the Northeast, everything's fast paced. I'm slowed down, and it's like at a good pace now.
Good. No, I get that, because I juggle this. I juggle a business academy. I also have a virtual event agency, and I'm in the process of getting my first book published soon. So, I juggle a lot of different things, but most of them are related to each other, or they can be, connected to one another. So I get that totally. And I'm like you, I get bored if I had to focus on one. So there you go. I relate.
It's finding that overlap in that Venn diagram. Like I tell everybody, I have a Venn diagram in my head of what, my goal is I want to see 100 kids adopted through my influence in my lifetime, right? That's my why. I always say, okay, what's your big why? Because it's got to be bigger than money or just a number in the bank. It's got to be a purpose bigger, because when everything sucks and you just feel down and you're like, why do I keep doing this? You need something to drive you forward. And to me, it makes me sad thinking about I could have done so much more for more people along the way and been a lot closer to that goal if I had been a little tighter with some of my things. I don't regret anything. I'm just saying, like, that drives me to push through a lot of the challenges that are mostly in my head sometimes. It's just a mind over matter thing. But that bigger goal is what led me to hooking up with Jarrett, talking about 100 tech. Like, his goal was 10,000 tech companies. So I made my goal 100 tech companies, because if I can create 100 millionaires, then from those, there's probably a bunch of them that are dads. And of those bunch of dads, there's probably some of them that would be open to adopting. And that's my core group that I want to appeal to. It kind of all links up in my head, but people are like, well, how's that all connected? So I just use the number 100 of this and 100 of that a lot. But the top 100 is the 100 kids, of which there's 90. Well, there's 8 so far. I got 92 to go. So
good. Well, I want to say thank you for Jason Centeno for sharing some great tips and on how to just pivot your businesses and your life and your career during tough times, and that's amazing. But we're going to talk about your story is your brand on the second half of the show, and he's agreed to stick around for that. So, and we're going to get some all sorts of cool, important information on how to grow your business and and on the second half. So, and especially with a different perspective on sharing on your brand is your story and on your story brand. So that is a segment of our show. You are listening to the Marketing Mindset Mastery Radio Show with your host Ray Mason and my lovely talented co-host Plinny Phoenix. And we will be right back. We're going to a commercial break now.
We're taking a short break, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Marketing Mindset Mastery, the show that brings you the top speakers in the marketing and video industry, with your host, Marie Mason. The show is brought to you by Liberty Virtual Solutions. We work with business coaches and speakers to help them market and host their webinars and upsell their coaching programs and develop heart-centered relationships with their audience. Welcome back to the Marketing Mindset Mastery Show with your host, Marie Mason, a premier podcast that helps you master your marketing skills.
Hey, I'm always ready.
Hello.
How's everybody? Welcome back to the Marketing Mindset Mastery Radio Show. Oh my gosh, do we have a fun second half of the show for you. Plinny, you want to introduce Jason?
Yes, if you missed the first part, but Jason is still here. So I tell you who's Jason is. Jason Centeno, entrepreneur, adoption advocate, who currently resides with lives and 6 children in Tampa, Florida. And Jason helps DadPreneurs to become Tech Moguls by helping them develop their big idea. There is a lot of brainstorming here, and Jason talking the first part, how he was able to pivot all the time and to have creative ideas that went around the problems that were like in everybody's life. But Jason has a really creative way to address that and make the best out of it. And he told us about it in the first part, but you can go again and listen to the podcast later or go on YouTube and see the broadcast and you can know about that. But now Jason has to talk about how your story is your brand.
So take it away, Jason. So welcome back. So anyway, so quick question. I mean, I know that we didn't get much into it because your story was so fascinating. We didn't want to slow you down for that because there was a lot of good tips in there as well. So first question I have on the block is, how does branding fit into everything that you're doing so far? Because you talked a little bit about it in your story. So I wanted to ask you about that.
Okay, so how does branding fit? Everybody's using that word. I mean, it's like the buzzword, brand, and you know, it wouldn't be mentioned so much if it wasn't somewhat important. So how does it fit into everything? And first of all, you got to figure out who you want to be in the marketplace. Do you want to be the slick salesman type guy that, you know, sells Lincolns while smoking a cigar? Do you want to be the homebody sort of flow from what do you call it? What's that insurance? Allstate, and kind of like, you know, be that like personable person. Like, how do you want people to see you to feel like they want to reach out to you for whatever it is you're selling? So why? Because there's lots of competition in the marketplace. How many people that you know named Marie? I don't know anybody named Plinny, but I know a lot of Jasons. So if you're like going through your phone or you're like going through Facebook or social media, or just like how, like somebody says, hey, it's Jason. What are you doing? It's like, what Jason? Which Jason? Hey, it's Jason, aka the dad next door, or Marie Mason, marketing M3, marketing mindset mastery. Like, these are the things that would, oh yeah, that Marie. Like, you need to be that one, because at the end of the day, I don't know how many Plinies they are, but that would be. Yeah, I was going to say, you got it easy, but most of us have common names, so we got to deal with, like, how do we get remembered amongst all the other ones, especially when they're ready to finally do some kind of business, because at the end of the day, we do business with those we know, like, and trust, and you got to get to know people, and you hopefully will like them and to trust them enough to do business. So a big brand is not going to do that automatically, other than throwing a lot of money at advertising. But the little guys like us, we got to be smarter than that. So the other thing too is your brand's got to attract your ideal customer. I mentioned before, I'm a dad. My ideal customer is other dad entrepreneurs. Why? Because right now you don't see them, but when I'm doing Zooms or I'm like on phone calls, there's a bunch of kids running around me like satellites. It feels like I'm in the middle of the universe and they're just rotating around me with. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, if I'm doing business with other dads, they totally understand that. Like, it's not unprofessional to them because they're also working from Zoom. So be very clear about the customer you're trying to attract, because that will allow you to do things that other people can't do, simply because they understand you, they can relate to you. There's all these levels of relationship there that are unspoken. But if you pick the right people, your right tribe, the people you want to appeal to the most, a lot of that footwork is eliminated, and a lot of the excuse making or just the getting to know each other part is simply by just being you, being authentic. And that's way less hard to upkeep than, like I said, me sitting here with maybe a suit and tie and I stand up and I'm in like shorts or something like that. That's a presentation that people are used to. Like, it's way easier to just be yourself and appeal to those people that are in your tribe. So like, that's what you got to curate and cultivate in your business. People that are like you, that have become your tribe.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's the reason why it's so important, is just to be yourself, right? And so, but are there some, but as far as when you're working a full-time job and being a business owner, I mean, why is it important to have your own? I mean, I guess you kind of elaborated on this, but why is it important to have your own brand? What's the point of doing it if you don't love your customer, for example? Kind of a different perspective on it. I guess this is a different take. Does that make sense what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
probably being a little wordy on the question, but
I get it. Were you done? I didn't want to cut you off.
yeah, thank you.
Okay. Well, it's important for a few reasons. Your personal brand is going to be the shortcut for you. If you're working a full-time job, as well as working like as a business owner, like, time is money. So you need to be as efficient as possible, or you're going to burn out trying to reach your goals. Like, that's what happens to everybody. We see it all the time, but it's a real thing. Imagine, if you were an Uber driver that had your own customer base, you would no longer be an Uber driver. You would be a concierge service. Wouldn't you rather be that and get the tips and not have to run all over the place chasing everybody's same, market? If you were smart, you would create your own market and be your own brand, that you didn't have to play in the same sandbox as everybody else and get, sand kicked in your eyes and do that fight. You need to establish yourself from other people any way you can. Another reason is, what's the point of doing any of it if you don't love your customers? I alluded to it. You want to build up the tribe. You don't want everybody to love you. You either want them to love you or hate you. But when they're not thinking about you at all, that's the worst. So get rid of the people, get rid of the cheapskates, get rid of the people that, maybe their politics, unfortunately, are different than yours, or they're just sourpusses, or they're just not happy people to be around. Keep the ones you really care about, put more energy into those. It's a way more efficient use of your time. And, that's how you're able to make money and have fun at the same time.
Brilliant.
Another way is referrals. Referrals are way cheaper than advertising. You don't have money to just throw at advertising and marketing. You should do some, but it's costly, especially when you're starting out. Referrals are not. So be the person that everybody wants to refer, the easygoing person, the person that made them laugh, everything about that. And then when they are thinking or they hear about somebody doing something, they introduce you. And that is kind of like the secret formula that I always had. I can recall times where people that were in the same business as me, partners even, nobody wanted to deal with them. They rather deal with me. So I brought in money that normally I wouldn't have, because they could have went directly to that person without me getting a cut, but they didn't like that person. That person wasn't really personable to them, or they just didn't get along. So they came to me. So I got a commission simply by being the cool guy, if that makes any sense. So,
Perfect sense.
Yeah.
So, Plinny, do you have another question for him?
Yeah, I have actually one, because you said about your audience that needs to relate to you. So if you have the kids like running on the background, that's part of your brand because you're a dad and you want that life like to be part of it. So your audience needs to relate to you. Do you think you need to relate to your audience too?
To some degree, yes, because if I'm up here in your head, because you're like we're on a consultation call or something, right, and you're down here and you're feeling that like somebody's talking down to you, you don't like that. I try to get, if I, this was sort of a, what's the word I'm looking for? A negotiation technique when I was like trying to buy houses, right? I never like sitting across with people. I like sit next to them, knee to knee, and we look at stuff together in the same direction. So I try to get in the person's same seat. And it's not that I can't stop my kids from running around in circles or just lock a door or anything like that. But I choose to let that happen sometimes. Sometimes I can't control it. But at the end of the day, if it was always happening, people were like, man, that guy can't even control his kids. How's he going to control money or business? So there's a level of that you just kind of don't go past. But every once in a while on some random Zoom, if it's like a mastermind or something like that, if they pop up, it's no big deal. If I'm doing a business deal, then they pop up and then there's a problem and they're going to catch it later. But that's just dad life. And some people get that because they got kids and everybody's Zooming from home now. So that's what COVID brought too. Kids running around in the background. So you might as well embrace it.
Brilliant. Yeah. Oh, thank you for that. So, well, the next question is, what is the difference between business branding and personal branding, which I think is similar to what we were saying, but a different perspective?
Yeah, I mean, basically in my head, it's like business branding is impersonal and personal branding is personal, right? So it's a producer-consumer relationship, business branding. I don't care what happened to Coca-Cola this morning, unless I had stock in it. I might care about what the president of Coca-Cola, if I knew who he was, if his kid got in a car accident, I might care about that because that's a personal relationship. I don't care what happens to the company. I care what happens to the person. You got to think like that. Coke has to spend a lot of ad money just to get in people's, everywhere that they get. I don't have to if people like me because they think about me more and they follow me on social media or whatever they do. The point is, and they can get a hold of me a lot quicker. Like that's the other thing. Some of these guys, like these gurus out there, like they put all these kind of fences in front of them, but that gets tired and that actually distances them from people. So I feel like they start to fade at a certain point, but I get that there's a balance there, with business. I'm just saying like that's the best comparison, like corporation versus people like other people. I don't know who's a fan of a corporation. I mean, not like that. Like they don't wear corporation hats like they, like baseball fans out there, like, oh my God, they're the best. No, so think about that.
Corporations, they're more numbers oriented. When you're dealing with a person, they're more people focused. So I think that's what you're trying to allude to, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The other thing too is your personal brand is mobile. You're a real estate agent and you're on a Century 21 team and you're wearing the color jacket, I think it's green, and you're on such and such at a such and such team at such and such brokerage, and you're trying to get business. Well, guess what? If you part ways, don't like the structure, the compensation structure, whatever, you got to leave that team. Everything stays with them. You have to start fresh. But if you built up your own brand and became Marie Mason, the house person, or I don't know, whatever, but like you took that with you, you could take that to another agency. You could also evolve that into something else because people are a fan of you. So whatever you're doing, they kind of want to be a part of if they like you, no matter what it is. Of course, if you keep switching around, it might get kind of confusing. But the point is, like with me, when I switched all the little things I did, they were all still dad related. It went from Daddy's Fast Cash, which was a wholesaler, to Dad's Pads, which provided, Airbnbs, to the Dad Next Door. So it was always dad something. And I own that, like that people like know you for that. So that's what you got to remember. You kind of got to keep, as you evolve through these things, you take it with you. Your brand can evolve, your personal brand can evolve, and you with it. And it's a lot easier to do that when it's not, owned by a corporation, let's just say.
That's true. That's very, very true. Plinny, you want to ask the next question?
So we talk about like what's the difference between business branding and personal branding. But would you like to give a specific example of that? Because I think like a lot of people is like trying to understand like what they needed to do with their own job, and sometimes they don't get that. Like, because we have a lot of people talking about marketing and things like that, but do you have a specific example that people at home now can say, oh, finally, I got it now?
Well, the one example I kind of used was I kind of went from a real estate. So if anybody knows about, hopefully you would know something about real estate. In real estate investing world, you could flip houses, you could own notes, you could be a wholesaler, you could be a rehabber, you could be all these different things. But that's a lot of things. So there's specific areas that people kind of focus on. So one I got really good at was being a wholesaler, which is kind of a salesman. It's like a job, but I differentiated myself becoming a character, Daddy's Fast Cash. Why? I wanted my brand to be about family and fun. So you got to establish what you want your brand to be about. It could be about, goodness and light. It could be about what's one of the buzzwords today? Affordable housing. Like you want to be that person in that space. Okay, I got it.
So basically, it's like saying what you care about.
Yes. I like to take two things and mix them together like a Reese's peanut butter cup. So one person was like, hey, what do? I want to be known in real estate. What do you love to do? I love wine. Okay, take your marketing and make half of it about really good wines that you love and the other half about houses. Why? Because there's a lot of people that like wine too, but they might not be ready to buy houses for a very long time. You're going to buy 1 to 3 in your lifetime, but you're probably going to buy a lot of bottles of wine. So I'm going to pay attention to you. Then guess what? Wine people are generally people that will pay a lot of money for a house, right? Like, because they have a finer taste. So when they're ready for that house purchase, they're going to think of the wine person. Also, you should probably rate houses like you rate wine, just for fun. Like it's a dry, it's a red, it's a white, it's whatever. So I told this lady, you should do that. And you would definitely stand out because it's the same customer and you're giving them content and edutainment along with this thing you're trying to sell. Because at the end of the day, you do have something to sell, but you also have a lot of value to give. And if they see that value of the wine, your passion in the wine, you're going to probably be their first thought when they're ready to buy a house because they already like your wine content. So I said, take chocolate and peanut butter, find what you're passionate about, mix it with your business, talk about both and mix them together however you want, because that's how your personal brand becomes. You become
that's great.
The motorcycle rider florist. You become the casket guy. I got somebody who I consulted with who was into selling caskets, and we set up a whole thing for him. Point I'm trying to make is you got to take something that's not related with something that your passion and your product, and you got to mix them together. And it's going to be like weird to people, but once you get it, it'll sustain you, and then you'll start getting creative, and people appreciate that. And I think everybody should do that. The best
kind of
people
personalizing a thank you gift almost for doing something for them, like buying your house, for example. And it's kind of like it's a personalized approach as how you laid out for us tonight for thanking them for doing that. So
yeah, and that's part of your authenticity. If you're showing that, how many, when you're doing a transaction, you're always getting sold. Like I'm hearing only the best part of this. I'm not hearing the worst. But in that, you're hearing all the good and the bad. Like, so you're getting that person's fan version of things, right? So that's going to transfer over to their feeling about the product and like feel like you're the person to trust because they already know like you bare their soul about this other thing. So you're probably going to tell them the truth about this thing. And of course, don't be a liar or manipulator, be ethical. But the point I'm trying to make is you're taking them from that place of comfort into a place that might not be so comfortable because it's a transaction, but they already know you. So they're willing to hold your hand through it versus some random person that just showed up out of nowhere with a flyer like that. So
brilliant. Perfect. So aside from what you just told us, which was your brand is your story, and that's so important and crucial. What are you, and aside from doing the dad next door and the coaching and the mastermind and everything else in between. And I get that, wearing many hats. I do the same thing. What are you doing now that's like really exciting you right now? Because I know you get excited about a lot of things, but what's your number one thing you're really excited about? I'm just curious.
I mean, the number one most exciting thing, because it's constantly moving, is the tech. I mean, I'm a co-founder in a tech company that's based around trash, which I never thought that would be what I did, but it just became so kind of cool and a remix on the whole idea of how to, treat the industry, that like I'm semi obsessed with it now. So that's one thing. I keep myself busy like weekly with a couple masterminds, and then I do like a free Friday branding class, a branding intensive. It's just I go through this ebook that I created, and I created it based off of I was asked to speak at a real estate thing, and everybody was talking about real estate, and I was like, I don't want to talk about houses. I talked about the personal branding aspect, and so that turned into a book, and I was asked to speak about it, and I just said, all right, every week I'm just going to do a chapter of that particular ebook and review it and keep rotating. So every Friday at 11, I just do this free branding class. I go over a chapter, you get the book, and then like half an hour's review, and the other half is, just fielding questions, and that's fun too, because like we just did it right now. It's basically what I did right now, but everybody's asking specific to them. Well, what should I do? And I just come up with things, and they either take them or they don't, but that's fun for me.
Well, it's like when you came up with the name for our little tip of the week kind of thing. You brainstorm ideas with them like that, right? You have a process. Yeah.
And then you can always love everything. You got to get comfortable with it. But I say, look, listen to it, feel it out, take all these pieces into account, try it out on some people. And if it rolls off the tongue and if they like it, then roll with it for a while. And, maybe that becomes your new brand. But, that's what it is. It's kind of coming up with stuff that you were blind to before that.
That is fantastic. Oh my gosh, we are getting ready to close the show already. So you got a special gift for our audience. I want to give you a chance to share that real briefly. And then Plinny and I are going to have to close out the show already. So it's been going by so fast. So what's the offering do you have for our audience?
If anybody wants to become a part of that like class, that I do it tomorrow. So if anybody wants to be a part of that, you can register. So there's 2 domain names. It's like that for now, but it's going to become one. We're working on it. But if you go to personalbrandmeetup.com, that will register you for, it's just an ongoing Zoom meeting. So it's just a real plain Zoom registration. That'll get you in there. And then if you want the ebook that goes with it, you should get a notification when you register for the Zoom. But if you don't, you can grab that at right now at www.brand-u, just the letter U, .today. So it's brand-u.today, brand you today. But if you register for the class and you don't have the book by then, I always put the link in there if somebody gets lost. So the easier one to remember is personalbrandmeetup.com. Again, you register, you get notifications, you come in, and we just talk for like an hour with whoever shows up, which is anywhere from 1 to 5 people a week that I don't know.
That's great.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's funny. It's kind of like, I don't know. There's only like 2 repeats, and there's always brand new people. And I'm like, all right, cool, we're in this. So, and we have fun with that. So.
Perfect. No, thank you so much for being here, Jason. We really enjoyed having you, and I hope to have you back again at some point. So we're always looking for guests to fill in spots throughout, and I always look ahead of schedules. So definitely keep in touch with us, because we'll definitely have you on again, because you were so much fun. So anyway, I just wanted to sit there and say, oh my gosh, I cannot believe it's the end of the show already. But thank you, Jason Centeno, for sharing tips that were so valuable to help our audience grow their business on the Marketing Mindset Mastery Radio Show, and getting the business really focusing on your brand and your story and how they are so important to grow your business. And don't forget to take advantage of this offer here, the free branding ebook and weekly class, which I actually am interested. What time is your weekly class, so that we don't miss it on East Coast time?
Yeah, 11 a.m. East Coast every Friday, unless I give you a notification that something came up. But I've only missed like 2 so far.
Okay.
So it happens sometimes, though. Yeah.
Awesome. So and it's at www.brand.u today. And don't forget the www.personalbrandmeetup.com. You can grab all of those links on the W4CY page and radio station, and you'll be so glad you took advantage of the gifts. Don't forget, they'll be on YouTube and our Facebook. I'm going to be adding it to Liberty Virtual Solutions page as well. So there's going to be a special spot for you guys for the show. So all the links will be on the radio page after we get the links for the replays. You can also grab it there. So Plinny, do you want to close out the show?
Yes. Unfortunately, we arrived at the end of this episode. Thank you so much, Jason, for being with us. So we are going to have another guest speaker next week. So you can watch again Jason on our page, so on Marketing Mindset Mastery Radio Show, where you listen to the podcast. You can go to our YouTube channel and for great tips, ideas, how to make your marketing and mindset work for you. Our guest for next week's show will be providing more tips. And every Thursday, we stream at 6 p.m. Eastern Times here on W4CY Radio. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Marketing Mindset Mastery, and hit the notification button so that you don't miss any show, and you can watch as well the replays. And here is the link so go in our website and you will see the YouTube channel link. So until next time, this is your co-host, Plinny Phoenix, and your host, Mary Mason. Say bye for now from Marketing Mindset Mastery Radio Show. We'll see you next week.
Have a great week, guys.
Bye, Jason. Thank you. And bye, everyone.
Bye.
Go to our radio page and check out the gifts from our speakers. We'll see you next time on Marketing Mindset Mastery with your host, Marie Mason.